Welcome back to Sledgehammer Horror, guys. I'm Ashley Sledge.
And I'm Ken Sledge.
And let's talk horror.
So today we're going to be doing a review of 2023's Older Gods. It's a movie about a man who descends into madness as he tries to investigate an apocalyptic cult that caused the death of his best friend.
So we're going to talk about positives from the movie, some negatives, and then we're going to spoil it a little bit.
So if you haven't seen the movie, we do have the links down in the description. And before the spoilers, we are going to show you the trailer as well. So make sure you're sticking around for that. Let's get right into our positives.
So some of our positives, it's really beautiful cinematography. We get some overview shots of the countryside and just like the trees and everything. It's just really pretty.
A lot of the shots, you could tell they were carefully crafted when they were doing the shots. We really like the idea of the origin and the depth behind the primordial fear, which is something that we all know about. And what is the origin? What started everything here? You know, and they go really in depth about that and the primordial fear that we all have of just life in general, which I thought was a really great example of how they did that.
Absolutely. They also have a really good use of the bird's eye view. I really like that shot. And when they use it in a movie, I just think it looks so great.
Yeah. When you have those drone shots, they're just absolutely amazing. And it looked great in this. And it's a unique story. A little bit behind it, David A. Roberts, the writer-director, had lost a friend during quarantine. And this idea came to him after he had lost one of his friends. So for him to be able to pen this after such an emotional, real thing happening to him, I think it's amazing. Because I've always said that the best fiction is realistic. When it's something that comes from reality, that's when you can create your best fantasy. So I obviously don't like what he went through, obviously losing a friend, but the way that he was able to turn that into a beautiful piece of art, I think that's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and there was really good acting. You really felt the emotion, the sadness. It really actually good.
We'll get into that a little bit more in the spoilers as well as some very real uncomfortable moments throughout the film. There's a lot of chase scenes, hide scenes that are very, very uncomfortable. You're feeling very nervous as you're going throughout the film. And like I said, a lot of that is more for the spoilers, but definitely some real uncomfortable moments as you're going through this film. So the reason we're being so almost secretive is the movie's brand new. So we don't want to give away too many plot points, but those are some of the positives that we had. Now let's get into some of our negatives of Older Gods. All right, so one thing that I could say about negatives is I'm not a big fan of chapters in movies. And this one does have many different chapters throughout the movie. And again, that's kind of a reach, but it's something that's always irritated me personally is I'm not a big fan of when you have chapters brought into a movie.
Also, it's a pretty slow burn. So if that's not your style, you might not be into this. This might not be the movie for you. It is kind of slow moving for the first couple of chapters.
Yeah, and it really does explode towards the end. But if being a slow burn film is not something you're into, this one may not be the one for you. But I had a lot of fun with it. I love the suspense building that they do with that. One thing I was not a fan of is the masks that the cult wears. They reminded me very much of the Call of Duty masks from the video game Call of Duty. Black Ops, I think it was, or Skulls or something. And that's all I could see when I saw this cult. So that's of no fault to the movie. It's just my son used to have one of those masks from the video game. So that's all I could see when I saw these masks was, you know, this old toy that my son used to play with. So it's just, that was a little, I wasn't a big fan of the masks.
Yeah, also there's really some dark moments. It's hard to see when they're like chanting and stuff. And it seems like those scenes just go on for a little bit too long.
You could have easily cut some of those chanting scenes down. But again, I get the suspense building, but for us especially, there was just like, okay, we've seen a lot of the chanting things that are going on. And then the biggest one for a lot of people is going to be the ending. We're going to talk about that in the spoilers especially, but we've talked about it before. We don't need everything wrapped up in a pretty little bow. You know, it doesn't have to be like that, but give us something. Give us something to go on. And like we promised, we're going to show you the trailer now, and then we're going to get into the spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, we do have the links in the description. Check out the trailer and then go check out the movie and come back and see some of our spoilers of Older Gods.
Chris, thank you for following the breadcrumbs. I knew you'd be the one to find them. Now, listen to my voice. My breathing is steady. I sound fully conscious. I'm not what you all think I am. If you look through our findings, you'll see that we'd found sites, out-of-the-way places to perform their depravities. We looked wherever there were reports of overindulgent murders, anything ritualistic. And we found lots of them. We realized we'd walked into their trap. They were tracking us.
Are you burdened with religion, Mr. Duffy? Do you know why he doesn't answer our prayers? He's scared, terrified of waking something far older than him. He knows that by helping us, it would notice him. You see, your God is a coward. It answers me when I call. It listens. It tells me when it wakes, I will be rewarded for my devotion. And when it makes this world drown, I won't offer my hand to save any of you.
So one thing I love about this movie is the older gods talking in demonic tongue. That's something I've always scared me. The idea of mortality and where we come from, I think that's a big fear for everybody. And when you hear the older gods talking, it's just like bone rattling. Like, I absolutely love hearing that. I thought that was a great inception into the film.
Yeah. And earlier I talked about really good acting. And there's a scene where Chris, he has this very emotional conversation over the phone with his friend that died's mom, Billy. And it's very emotional. You definitely feel like the sadness and
on both sides.
On both sides for sure. Like, you know, you've always had this longtime friend where you have been involved with their families and you're almost like a part of their family. That's what it seemed like with them. Like they were more like brothers than they were actually friends. And the mom obviously just wants the best for Chris too. She lost her son. How about you just get out of there? And it's very emotional.
One of my favorite scenes in the whole movie. I love drama, and this was just a scene that hit so hard in the chest that I thought it was very well acted, very well paced. It was just an amazing moment in the film. Another moment is you have a part where Chris is out in the woods and birds just start dropping dead all around him when he's out in the woods. This is another scene where you just feel like your skin start to crawl.
Yeah.
You know, because you're watching these birds just fall out of the sky and land around him, and you're like, oh man, we're starting to get there now.
Yeah.
Like, we're really starting to pick up steam now and see where we're going with this.
Well, then Chris, he has a dream of Billy, and he's in the hallway, and he has this bag over his face, and it's like sucked into his mouth, and it's so creepy. It scared me. Like, that really, again, I was like, okay, we're picking up the pace now. That was really scary.
Yeah, because Billy is also trying to stop Chris from the other side.
Yeah.
You know, when they finally meet up, it's But that scene right there looked really, really good too. And when we're talking about the scary scenes, I think the scariest scene to me, there's a scene with Paula. You see her on the TV and she's stabbing herself in the neck. Like, it's so gnarly. And then she's talking through the TV. Like, she's talking to you through the TV. You guys know how I feel about that. In the original It, when you have, you know, the winking of the photograph, and sometimes they come back, you know, run Jimmy run on the TV. When something like that happens, that's one of my primordial fears. That's something that just gets me. So that was a scene that I thought was really, really good.
Yeah. Also the ending, it leaves way too many loose ends. I would like something, like, I felt like it just ended abruptly, and we really don't know exactly what happened. So it really didn't give us anything.
It's definitely open for interpretation.
It is, but
and there's a couple different ways, and I'm with you. I don't, like I said a little bit ago, I don't need it all like, oh, look, here's a perfect little ending for you, but give me something to go off of. When you can have many, many, many different interpretations of the exact same ending, I mean, I get it, but at the same time, give me something concrete that I can build off of, that I can, even if I can imagine my own type of ending, give me something.
Yeah.
So that way I know what has happened in the movie that I just watched. So Overall, as always, we're going to rank this out of 5 skulls. What would your ranking be of Older Gods?
I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5. We talked about the acting is really great. There's really some emotional scenes that you feel for the characters. Also, there's some really good practical effects, and there's some really creepy moments. So I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5.
I do love all the practical effects in the movie. Like you said, I like a lot of the cinematography, a lot of the bird's eye view shots, a lot of the drone shots I thought were well placed. They weren't overdone. I'm going to give it a 2.5. As you guys know, I'm usually the more critical one of the two of us. There were some slow-paced moments. There were some moments, especially with the chanting and the really dark scenes where you couldn't see very well, that I wasn't a big fan of. But what do we always say? You made a movie. You made art. I'm glad there's going to be an audience for this movie. It's a very fun slow burn. You're always questioning what's going to happen next. Obviously, when we do our spoilers, we're going to talk about certain scenes. We're not going to spoil the entire plot for you. Even as a spoiler review, we want to give you something to be surprised on when you go into the film. And this is a film, if you're into the slow burn, cult, folk type horror, this is going to be a movie that you're going to love. There's a lot of symbolism throughout the movie. There's a lot of things that take place past tense that are coming into the future that you're realizing that are important now that you've learned from Billy and Chris. So you're going to follow along on a big journey and see what are the consequences Chris has for leaving his family to come and do this. So again, I'm going to give it a 2.5. So like I said before, I have some social media links in the description, as well as we have the link for the film. So make sure you're checking that out. Let us know what you think of it. Give it a ranking on IMDb as well. So until next time, if you guys haven't already, like and subscribe. It helps the channel more than you know. And follow Sledgehammer Horror on social media. Our links are in the description as well. But keep talking horror.
Stay who you are.
And we'll see you guys soon.
Bye, guys.